So is it possible that the Vancouver Canucks would consider trading Miller or Pettersson within their division or the Western Conference? Now, this is something that we heard from Elliot Friedman, and this is just generally like a taboo thing in hockey. I personally don't like it, and I'll tell you why. What I mean by this is that I'm an advocate for trading players wherever you get the most value. All I want is value. Now, from the team's point of view, they think that we're going to have to play against this player a lot, and that's going to be very, very frustrating that we're going to have to play against him a lot and we're going to have to see him a lot. But at the end of the day, that just means you're trading a good player, right? That just means that you're trading a good player. This is just silly stuff. If you believe that you get the best value for this player, trading him to whatever Western Conference team, then it doesn't matter. You trade him. I don't know if you guys agree with this, but at the end of the day, you just have to get the most value that you can, right? If you trade him to the East, but you get a worse value, what would you prefer to get? Be honest here, right? Now, this is from Elliot Friedman's report yesterday on Saturday Headlines. I was listening to Saturday Headlines, and he was essentially just touching on the fact that the Vancouver Canucks are willing to listen to within their conference, which is fantastic news. I agree with what the Vancouver Canucks are doing here. They need to solve this issue, whether it's internally or within a trade. Now, you can drop your opinions on whether you believe it should be internally, that the guy should just get over whatever the beef is, or what have you. Now, Ryan Dixon did mention that the Minnesota Wild could be a potential suitor. Now, the Minnesota Wild, for example, are in need for a star center. A star upper echelon name type center is what I would say. Now, they have been having an unbelievable season, the Minnesota Wild, that is. Vancouver actually beat the Leafs yesterday. They've been a little bit up and down. There's been drama there. They actually played really good against the Leafs, in my opinion. I thought the Leafs were lethargic, but Vancouver Canucks, let's give them credit. They played pretty good defensively. They pretty much shut down the Leafs. I mean, get credit where credit is due. But again, if they wanted to extract the most value, Minnesota Wild might be a team that you might want to point to. They have Joel Eriksson-Ek and Marco Rossi. They also have Gaudreau down the middle. So it wouldn't be impossible to maybe get another center there and have a bit of a different and better look. Adding one of Pettersson or perhaps JT Miller in there would be a big difference maker for them. Now, I do wonder if Rossi might be involved in these trade discussions between the two teams, but it does make a lot of sense. Because Vancouver's motivations with moving Pettersson or JT Miller are clear. We've heard on and on again that they're going to have to figure this out, either in-house or out-of-house, whatever it's going to have to be with whatever this beef is. I can't believe that it's even gotten to this point, in my opinion. My opinion has always been to just keep the players unless they just can't figure it out. But I'm surprised that they can't just have a professional working relationship. It does just seem very, very strange to me. Now, to be fair, I very much doubt that the Minnesota Wild would want to include Rossi. He's in his third year of his entry level, and he is really quite good, in my opinion anyway. I really like him. He's having a pretty damn productive season. I do wonder if the Minnesota Wild would consider including a player like a Joel Eriksson-Ek, because remember, the Vancouver Canucks are going to need to get a center back. If they're going to trade a center, they're going to need to get a center back. I do wonder if you could include a Joel Eriksson-Ek and then a pick or something like that from Minnesota's side. Perhaps, again, they would have to make the salaries work, but they're not going to trade Rossi and they're going to get a center back. Let's say it's like Pettersson or something like that. But, you got to do the proper swap. This is why things are hard, because you have to fill out that roster spot that you just opened up, right? Now, why the Wild might take this chance is very simple. Can you imagine Pettersson with Kaprizov? Unbelievable. That would be unbelievable. I'd love to see... I know this is what I would love to see. Just sometimes this line doesn't have to be like this all the time, but I'd like to see Rossi, Pettersson, and then Kaprizov all on one line. Again, the line doesn't always have to operate like that, but just sometimes on the power play or something like that. I think that line would be absolutely nasty. Now, the risks are for both sides. You know, Vancouver is going to be potentially giving up a player here that is a serious player. Now, if Vancouver can get back a similar player, then it won't hurt them that much, right? If they get a decent top six center like Eriksson Ek or Rossi back, plus they can just make a decent hockey trade, this actually might not turn out that bad for both teams. They would still be similarly just as good, but they would solve their issues, albeit I don't really think it's going to turn out to be that simple necessarily. Now, again, I'm going to say this one more time, that I don't actually think that Vancouver should do this unless it's getting really bad in their dressing room. I don't know the ins and outs of what's going on in their dressing room, so I will say that I'm not necessarily sure that they should do this, because it's very hard to get their fair value for a player when they are like this, right? When you're in a situation where your back's up against the wall, it's harder and harder to do a proper hockey trade. Now, one question that I would like to ask you guys is, would you trade a top player to a rival if the return was good enough? That's the question for this video. Would you do it? My answer is, if the return is good enough. Like, let's say for example, you had I'm just taking the Minnesota Wild because that's what the one was that was talked about in this article. But just any Western or Eastern rival team, if the return was good enough, is that something that you would entertain? For me, my vote is yes. Drop it in the comments below. Anyways, I am going to leave this video there. If you could make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, that would be greatly appreciated, guys. And make sure to have a great day. Goodbye, guys.